Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
And welcome back. You know, when I was a kid, one of the most controversial songs of the day was Baby Got Back. It's pretty laughable now when you think about it. At the time, Sir Mix-a-Lot said a lot of censors wouldn't like the song. Now they even play it at high school football games. How far we've come, you know, from that to what it is today. You can turn on any award show, you see a striptease, you see guys running around with their pants down, all types of other shenanigans going on. And I'm not calling for the censorship of any of these artists, but I think it would behoove them to be very cautious and knowledgeable of the audience that they're directing these messages to. And that's what we're going to talk about with our guest tonight, Carvin Haggins. He is a music producer and artist who's worked with the likes of Will Smith and Justin Timberlake. Thank you for joining us today, Carvin.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now before we go deeper into the topics, just tell us a little bit about your musical background.
Well, I've been in the music industry for about 20 years. I started off as a rapper. After that, I went into production, started working for Jazzy Jeff's company, DJ Jazzy Jeff, who was the partner of Will Smith. And he had a production company called A Touch of Jazz. So I did a lot of my production and songwriting with his camp. And basically, that's how I got my start in the music industry.
So you're looking at the music industry today, and you'd like to see maybe a few things different. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, actually, I'd like to see a lot of things different. I think that the image of Black men in the music industry and Black women have lost all respect and integrity. And I think that, and it's not all artists, but for some artists, and they know who they are, they have taken the platform of being an artist and turned it into more like a national striptease or some type of degrading of our art, culture, and people.
Mm-hmm. So when we talk about the things that are going on, is it just the sexuality, or are there other aspects such as the violence or the drug glorification? Are those things that concern you as well?
Oh yeah, all of those things and all of the above. You know, we have misogyny, we have the disrespect, we have drugs, we have violence, we have rape, we have murder. I mean, there's so many dimensions to Black music right now, but none of them are positive. Mm-hmm. So we need to bring back the positive aspect of creativity in the Black community.
So we see a lot of this, you know, even when I was in high school, you know, back in the early mid-2000s, you know, we saw so much of the aggressive type music, the sexualized music, not going back decades, it's nothing new. So what would you say to these artists if you had a chance to sit down with, you know, some of the more explicit ones out there? What would you say to him or her as far as their portrayal in the music industry?
One of the things I would just say is be mindful of your influence, because I know you're just making the music for you and your friends or who you think are listening, but there are children that's 3 and 4 years old that's listening to what you're talking about and pretty much trying to become what you're talking about. And the sad thing is that if that's not really you, if you're acting, then stop acting, stop putting on a minstrel show. It's time to stand up.
Time to stand up. And you mentioned something to me off camera about the FCC. What would you like to see the FCC's involvement be?
Well, I want the FCC to enforce the restrictions that they have. So there's an indecency restriction that they have that I've seen music cannot be played between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. Well, on Black radio, the music is obscene from start to finish. You listen to the lyrics of these artists where Bobby Shmurda is talking about catching a body just a week ago, talking about killing the preacher, to Beyonce talking about having fellatio or giving fellatio in the backseat of a limousine. So it's like, we need some respect.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, because I hear a lot about what the men are doing. I'm sure you know earlier this year, they had the big controversy with T.I. and Robin Thicke, you know, talking about their video and their song. But, you know, it's always about what the guys are doing, not so much about what the ladies are doing. But, you know, as well as I do, you turn on these award shows, you know, the guys may be running around with their pants down, but it's the ladies who are on stage stripping off their clothing. And of
Right.
course, it's not all of them. You do have, very respectable conservative ladies out there, but you do have that going on as well. So
Yeah.
it's across the board, and I'm glad that you really touched on that. Now, something I want to talk about as far as you're saying you want FCC to enforce their restrictions, their sanctions. Are you calling for any type of particular censorship? I know you said there's certain hours you don't want these things to be played on the radio, but would you encourage any type of censorship of these lyrics?
No, honestly, I really don't care about the censorship aspect because let's be realistic. Guns are made, but there is something in place to keep guns out of the hands of children. Cigarettes are made, and there's something that keeps the cigarettes out the hand of the children. I mean, even if we go all the way down to pornography, I don't have a problem with people making it. I don't watch it, but my issue with pornography is if I turn on the TV while I'm trying to get my daughter ready for school in the morning and there's a porno playing, now I have a problem, especially if it's on public television. I have a major issue with that. So that's the same thing I'm just talking about with the music. The radio stations are terrestrial and it's free to anyone that tunes in. And our children don't need to be listening to audio porno in the morning and all day long.
I hear you on that because that was my stance on it. People have the freedom of speech; they can do whatever they want to do. But as far as the marketing of these of this genre or this type of music, the aggressive music, the sexual music, whatever it may be, because you can turn on a child award show and you see the rapper with the violent lyrics or the lady with the sexual lyrics or whatever it is. I'm like, I'm sure there's an audience for that, a grown audience, grown-ups can do what they want to do, but let's not market this to children. Let's not market this to people that really shouldn't be listening to it.
Right. I mean, if you take Miley Cyrus, for example, all right, all of her songs, she's talking about getting high, partying, lesbian acts, and whatever you do is what you do, but you can't top it off with stuffed animals and rainbows and unicorns. It's like, wait, the appearance is for children, so children will be fascinated at what they're looking at, as well as taking in that poisonous message. Even with Nicki Minaj and her new song, Pills and Potion, she has a video. It looks like Alice in Wonderland. And, if the kids keep watching long enough, they're going to learn how to commit suicide. It's not good.
Yeah, it's all over. Now, tell us about the Rage Against Ratchet.
Well, Rage Against the Ratchet is something that we started on Mother's Day, and it was just like, we're going after radio, and we're protesting radio and telling them to stop feeding this poison to the Black community. And, and a lot of people ask me, why do we go after radio? Well, radio, they are the gatekeepers of the music. And it's like the drug dealer. The drug dealer don't make the drugs. He don't grow the drugs. He don't produce the drugs. What he do is he stand on the corner and give it to the community. So the radio is the drug dealers of this poisonous music. They're on the community. They right on the corners of our community, peddling it to the people. So Rage Against the Ratchet was started to shut Black radio down and say, listen, go back to what you used to be. You used to be the cornerstone of our community. You used to be informative. You used to be uplifting. You used to be empowering. And now you're being the degradation or the destruction of our community. You're making millions of dollars off of our community. So stop killing our community. Just put some more back into it,
Okay, Carvin, talking about this dead or in jail culture. We hear all the rappers, you got to be a real rapper, you're dead or you're in jail. And even as a kid, or a high school student, I'm listening to this music and I'm like, this guy who's telling me I need to be in the grave or in jail is on stage rapping at the Grammys, But I guess there are people who fall for that. Do you see that in your comings and goings?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, when you take a look at most of these rappers, I mean, if we even start at Drake and he's like, well, I started from the bottom. It's like, well, dude, you were in Canada with the swimming pool and you were on Degrassi. Like, what's bottom to you? Mm-hmm. Bottom to me is homeless, and bottom to me is sleeping in the house with no heat. So you get a lot of these rappers who are really good actors, and they're convincing our children that this is what they should be. I mean, even when they talk about Rick Ross, and it's sad that the real Rick Ross is a good guy, and he served his life sentence and he came out and he's changing communities and fighting for the children and trying to bring positive. And then there's a man imposter who has his name that's glorifying something that he was a prison guard to. So it's kind of hard to, hard to figure it out, especially if you're a child, I just hope that these guys man up, realize what's happening in our society, realize what's happening even in our communities with young men being profiled by white police officers who's like, well, I thought he was a thug or a murderer. Well, if he's listening to rap music, if this police officer is studying our culture through rap music, the first impression when he see a young man with his pants halfway down, something he's going to think, oh, he's a killer like they say in the video. So, we just got to be mindful at the images we're portraying.
Mm-hmm. Carvin Haggins, now as you give us your final thoughts, maybe there's some young people out there, they don't really know anything besides what's on the radio right now. Can you recommend any artist or any place where they can go and hear some more positive, uplifting type of music?
Well, what's amazing is that a lot of artists are now changing. There's a Kendrick Lamar. He's very lyrical, witty, with intelligence and saying some positive things. You have a new, well, he's not new, but J. Cole's new album. He just went and he introspect. He started looking at what he was presenting. And the amazing thing is that what we present as artists is not just for America. It's an international look. So if we look like murderers and killers and whores and pimps here, it's an international view of who we are. And that's not even a fraction of the people who are really the Black community. So we have the false representation. So I think that there are quite a few artists. There's Lettucey, there's, Jill Scott has some good music. I mean, there's quite a few great artists. Bria Marie has good music. So there's a lot of great artists who are available that's giving positive messages and taking us back to that royal industry, like we were royalty. This music that we created Diana Ross was treated as royalty. James Brown was treated as royalty. Michael Jackson was treated as royalty. It's because the music and the stance and the posture and the integrity and the standards that they held. So we just want everybody to get back to that same place, All
right. Carvin Haggins, Rage Against the Ratchet. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate you.
Well, that's it for our show tonight. Be sure to stop by prisonplanet.tv where you can get a great deal throughout this holiday season. I'm Jakari Jackson from the Infowars Command Center, and we'll see you again tomorrow night.
In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life.
You are watching the Infowars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. Members can share their passcodes with up to 11 other people, and your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.